Hello and welcome to the Analog Toys live stream. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've done a live stream, but whenever I talk Star Wars, certainly recently anyway, I always like to invite my two good friends, Michael and Michael. One's known as Captain Schaefer, the other is Michael French of Retro Blasting. Now, Michael did want to join us, but he was double booked. He's actually going to a toy show with Scuba Pete. So we wish Michael French fantastic weekend, heading off on his toy hunt with Scuba Pete. But without further ado, let's bring in my good friend, Captain Schaefer. How are you, sir?
Good evening, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure. And I want to publicly thank you for this little guy right here.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad you like him. I wish you would have come in time for your video, but all good things.
I was just going to say it would have been awesome if this was here in time, but I didn't know what you were sending me, and I was able to get the video done anyway. But this guy's fantastic, and this is Pro Customs.
Yes, Pro Customs. He has a website directly, Pro Customs Figures or Pro Custom Figures, I believe .com, and or I think he might also be on eBay under that, or Mark Poon, Poon. He's out of, is it Singapore? I don't remember. It would have been on the pack. Is it? Yeah, Singapore. So yeah, but I'm glad he came. I never saw. I don't have one of those in person. Like, how is it? Is it gummy or is it nicely made? I think it's a factory molded figure, right?
Yeah. This feels like 95% of the way there to a stand solo.
That's the feel I usually get from his figures, because he does some Sand Troopers. I mean, they are spot on Kenner. I think he even does like 10 packs of the old classic Stormtrooper, which is, I bought a lot of those just because I will not participate in artificially driving up the price of a Stormtrooper. The figure they made more of. I mean, they made that in the original 12 all the way through the Power of the Force line. They made that figure the whole damn time. Don't give me this. They don't have a lot of Stormtroopers. Anyway, I digress.
Well, you're not really digressing. That's actually a pretty good segue into our topic tonight, which is the Star Wars Retro Collection. And I do specifically want to get into the latest reveals from Toy Fair 2025. But let's take the time machine back to 2019, which is when the Retro Collection first launched. So it's been going for 6 years now. Mm-hmm. I think I know the answer to this, but have you collected any of the figures? I know you probably don't collect all of them, but have you picked any up along the way?
I have, but only figures that had to do with the original trilogy. I had no interest. I lie. I had an interest in what the hell's up with the it must have been the first Boba Fett, because it had the no neck fat Boba Fett. It had the Gina Carano character. It had Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers. I don't know the characters' names on the show. I'm just curious because I didn't understand doing a retro figure of a modern show. I know it takes place in the same time frame, but the logic didn't square. The only one good thing I could say about that line was they molded Carl Weathers' figure that the hand pistol actually could clip right onto his side, onto his belt, nice. Like build it. Like, that's something great. That's something Kenner could have done. I mean, they kind of sort of did it in a weird way with the Hoth Han, but that was kind of a forced thing. But this was legitimately done, and that was a nice touch. But that's the only good thing I can say about that line. But anyway, to your question, only the original trilogy. I got rid of those figures, the Boba Fett ones, and only because if you could find them and you could get them right away, it was a cheap way to get for displaying, because you want to set up a scene and you need your fifth Farm Boy Luke, and you don't want to pay through the nose for a nice crisp white Farm Boy Luke, even though it does look like shit compared to the originals. It still looks better than a beaten up faded one. And when you price up the figures, I think they only ever maxed out at like $12.99 a figure. Because sometimes they sold them separately. Sometimes they did 2 packs, but then they reverted to just forced six packs of everything. And then those few new figures that were jammed into like board games and that kind of thing. Monopoly, and yeah.
Oh, I forgot the Monopoly one.
Yeah,
I've got some slides prepared, and
cool.
yeah, I forgot the Monopoly one.
Excellent. I'm gonna disrobe. This is too damn hot. It's a real jacket.
Fair enough. That's all right. It was a great opening anyway.
Just lean into it, I guess, if that's what they're gonna call me.
Yeah. So, but from my perspective, I was gifted. I think both the first wave of the retro collection and the second wave. But I have gone out of my way and purchased some other figures that I really wanted. Now, I picked up the first Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't know why. I just wanted those two figures. And I've picked up a couple of other ones for the purposes of chopping them up and making custom figures. So I think I got the Jedi Luke, and I chopped his head off and made a X-wing pilot Luke using his head and a vintage X-wing pilot body. So
perfect.
Yeah, let's pull up my presentation.
Yes.
So the Star Wars Retro Collection, as I said, it's been going for 6 years, and I was wondering if you had any idea how many waves have been released so far.
Oh wow!
And
if we include
the audience as well,
if we include all the different streaming shows, right?
Yeah, everything that's had that retro collection branding on it. Because we've had Obi-Wan and Acolyte, they've done Phantom Menace.
I'm gonna say if we don't count the 2-packs, because the
I'm not counting the 2-packs.
Okay, then I'm gonna guess 9 waves.
9 waves.
That's my guess.
15.
Holy way off. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yep. We had
wow.
Wave 1, which was 6 Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
Wave 2 was The Empire Strikes Back. We had the first Mandalorian wave, the second Mandalorian wave, the Obi-Wan wave, the Return of the Jedi wave, a second Return of the Jedi wave, Ahsoka, Phantom Menace. Sorry, I had to shrink the picture, and it looks like it's cut off some of the text. But the Phantom Menace, the Book of Boba Fett, Wave 2 of the original Star Wars line, a prequel wave, the prequel sequel wave, I call it, an Acolyte wave. They've announced the New Hope wave, and then I put the prototypes in there. I'm not sure if that was an entire wave or how
they were like released along with some of the waves.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like when they released Darth Vader in the first wave, they had that prototype Darth Vader and so forth with some of the others. But I never chased those down. I didn't care. Are you there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah. Nope. It says.
Yeah, my camera has disconnected.
Okay.
Oh,
just so you know, I'll carry on. They have to look at my ugly face, but I believe that's how they did the prototypes. I'm not sure. Oh, Jason Anderson, thank you, sir. Jason Anderson gets a whole bunch of memberships.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Mr. Anderson always coming through. Long time supporter, not the first time caller. But anyway, I forgot about the prototypes. And then they did, and this is going to dovetail into my reasoning for what I would make my bold, unasked, unsolicited advice to Hasbro. Since they did the 2-packs, all of the bounty hunters came in 2-packs. I don't know exactly who came with who, but like Dengar and IG-88 came together, Forlom and Zuckuss, and I guess Boba Fett and who's the last bounty hunter I'm forgetting? IG-88, Dengar, Forlom, Zuckuss. Scream it at me, chat. Boba Fett and Bosk. Jesus, how could I forget Bosk? Melinda's favorite figure. Oh, now Tony's not even on. It's just me. Oh, joy. Thank you, chat. Anyway, those came in 2-packs. Now I'm going to jump ahead because of Tony not being here, but I had prepared. Because of that, based on the precedent having set that they can do 2-packs, they could have done that with this wave. Instead of just doing a Stormtrooper Han, they could have done a 2-pack, Han and Luke. They could have done a 2-pack or a 3-pack of ceremonial, Yavin ceremonial, obviously Luke, but Han and maybe Leia, or just Han and Luke. They could have done snow troopers, the sand troopers in a 3-pack or a 4-pack. Red, here we go. Orange, white, and black pauldrons. I believe there might have been another pauldron at some point, but the only ones I remember on screen were orange, white, and black. Let me check my messages. Hopefully Tony can get back. If not, I have no way of ending the chat, so let's see what the chat's saying. He's on the bridge, yeah. Let's talk about the you show, the you inside of you. Anyway, back to the topic. So because of that, I had the Han and Luke Stormtrooper pack, the Sand Trooper pack. You could have done Dr. Evazan and Walrus Man in a 2-pack. You could have done, because they're doing the Rebel Fleet Trooper, they could have done a 2-pack or a 3-pack of that. People would have eaten this stuff up. They could have done Luke. I did the Yavin ceremony ones already. Tony's back. It's a different camera, but I can't hear it.
I don't know what happened. It was working fine, and then it just said it was disconnected.
What the hell?
Thank you so much for covering things there.
Not at all.
All right.
Sorry, I just saw King Eric the Great. I was trying to say different names, and he put foreskin. Not forearm. That made me laugh.
It always throws me off when I have a technical difficulty during the actual live. So
no worries. I don't think everybody hopefully still here. They didn't leave because it was just me. I think we're good. Just got to find out where the hell the mouse is. Nope, it's not there. It's 3 screens over. Go for it. Do your thing. Sorry. Don't no for me.
So the retro collection came out in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We've got it here. I'm just going to have to plug my laptop in, otherwise the battery will run out.
At my local retail places, brick and mortar places, that you had to pick these up because originally they were released individually. You didn't have to buy a 6-pack. For some unknown reason, they decided to release them at Target in the men's section. Not the toy section, like where you buy socks and ties, because it was near Father's Day, and I guess they thought, 3 3/4 inch action figures for 4 and up should be sold in the men's section at Target. So it took me 3 trips to 3 different Targets to realize, oh no, they're not in the toy section, because everything I was looking at, because this is, you had to find this shit. You couldn't really get it online at that point. Anyway,
but I mean,
they wanted it to fail from the get-go. Like it was just set up to not do well from the get-go.
But a certain guru says that toy companies don't make toys for adults. So
right. Even though he constantly comments on the collector market and the collectors and what's driving it's bullshit.
Yeah,
he's a hack.
Well, when this first came out, what a lot of people were saying is, if you're going to come out with this and you're going to do this, why not come out with figures that are much harder to find?
Yes.
Come out with some last 17 stuff, which they did eventually do. They just dipped their toe into it a little bit. But I think the biggest complaint with this first line was the fact that this unreleased figure came packaged with a board game. So where the other figures were $12.99, this figure was like $30, $40.
Yep, $29.99. It was basically a paywall for a game nobody wanted. And I mean, the figure's fine. It's not amazing in any way. It's something we always wanted. Is it Kenner? Yeah, kind of. The face is a little wonky, I think, but it's fine. I mean, it's a new sculpt and all, but being put behind that, you sold all the other figures individually, and they went out right away, and half of them couldn't hold their weapons. But anyway, Tarkin, it's fine. But as you and I had already been collecting fan-made stuff at the same quality as Kenner, and this isn't really measuring up at this. I mean, if we're being fair, I'd give it a 8.5 at the highest end for effort and.
Look, I'd give it like a 6.5, 7, because I think we both know now. We're both very big fans of Stan Solo, and although Stan Solo has never done this particular character, I think we both know that he would have done a much, much better job with it.
Absolutely.
And I want to see that, Chris Smith. If you're watching, if you're listening, I want to see your version of a Tarkin. So,
and I want to see it. To me, this definitely would have been. Had the Power of the Force line continued, the coin one, the Power of the Force 1, this would have been a figure I could have seen them make, because you could really get some good detail. And commenting, it just reminded me, the fake weathering on the card backs, how thin and flimsy they are, every single thing about it. And again, the only good thing I can say about this line compared to the next releases, at least the bubbles were very slim. They still had the figure inside a tray, inside the bubble, but they didn't stick off the card half a foot, what felt like half a foot. I mean, Dengar's so big. He's got a belly to begin with, but then you add that huge bubble. But anyway, at least that first release, the card backs were thinner compared to the next releases. The card backs, the bubble on the card back was not as deep. The card backs were thin, but they were shit from the beginning.
Yeah, they're thin, they're shit. They with that dogged, that chewed up edging. I kind of get what they're going for, but they've missed their target audience because we don't want it like that. No. Collectors try and collect stuff that's pretty pristine. So and
nobody would assume, nobody would mistake any of these figures or any of these cards, because the back of the card looks nothing like anything made back then, and it doesn't have any cross-sell. It just has the names of the figures written, and you only get Tarkin written on the card back if you get a Tarkin figure. It's not even listed on the card backs of the other 6 that were released. So they didn't even try to market it. Hey, buy this stupid board game and get this figure. They didn't anyway, all the things that we thought of. I mean, that card back was the Bible as kids. When we would look at what figures we need to get, cross off what we already had, that's what you constantly referred to. Nobody thought about saving the front of the card. You ripped the figure off and you used the back as a list.
Yeah, right? And you ticked off the figures as you got them and circled the ones you wanted and
cut out.
It's just what they use to put all their safety warnings in like 5 different languages.
Brutal.
To save money, rather than producing the card backs in different languages for different markets.
Yep.
Bitter Troll, thank you very, very much. He just gifted
nice.
10 Analog Toys memberships. That's very much appreciated, sir. Very kind of you.
Very nice.
So following on from this, we then got an Empire Wave. I wish I knew who had gifted this to me. It was a long time ago. I lived in a different house then.
Long time ago.
Someone gifted me the entire wave. I did a video about this. At this point, they were still selling the figures individually.
Yes.
These were available in store. But once again, the unreleased figure packed in with another board game, the Hoth Ice Planet adventure game. Yep. What are your thoughts on the X-Wing pilot Luke figure?
I didn't hate it quite like everybody else did. I wasn't wild about the choice of the color for the lens.
Yeah.
For the face shield. But I mean, it didn't bother me because it was markedly different, and so that, like, if you're noticing in the movie, the snowspeeder suit is thicker. It has more insulation. The collar around it's a bit thicker, obviously.
Big thick collar. Yeah.
Right. The gloves, it's funny because the gloves are TIG welding gloves, like deerskin, super thin, so you can really feel and get that real. Enough about welding to know that you need that feeling, that dexterity. But they make it look like it's a big heavy winter glove, but it's really not. The place I work for sells those. So I mean, I liked it enough for that it was different, but to me, that's something they should have done way, way, way down the line after they did other figures. Because like everybody else, we all used X-Wing Luke for all the X-Wings, all the snow speeders, some of the Y-Wings, you know, depending. So yeah, it wasn't high on the list, but I was more disappointed that it was in a board game than I was with the figure, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah.
And I will preface this with, I did not pay over MSRP on any single figure or wave I got, so I can't comment on how people had to pay ridiculous sums that, you know, if you tried to buy this on card or loose outside the board game afterwards, they just started ratcheting up those prices ridiculously. So I didn't have to do any of that nonsense, thankfully.
No, that's good. John Papa Sergio, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, looks more like Bo Duke on Bespin. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right hair.
The other thing notable about this line is that I've only got 3 of the figures there, but it also came with Yoda, Boba Fett, and what was the other one? Lando?
Lando, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Lando Calrissian.
Boba Fett and Yoda, they sold out everywhere. I'm pretty sure Bespin Luke would have sold okay as well, but the other 3 just peg warmers.
Totally.
For a long time, and I think that is likely why I believe it was only these first 2 waves where they sold them individually at retail, and then they shifted to no, they're going to come as sets of 6 from this point on. So
right. They did briefly when they did the second wave of Empire. They did all the bounty hunters in 2-packs, I think, and you could only get them in 2-packs each. You know, the 246. But yes, you're right. After that, it was just locked into except for that one weird one. Was it the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones? I think they did like a 3-pack or something weird. There's a few anomalies within that huge. Was it 15? You said, right? That's nuts to me. 15 different waves.
15. That's based on waves of like 6 or more figures. In between that, we've had a little release of 2 bounty hunters and stuff.
Right,
but Jason Anderson is quite shocked here. He's like, Lando, a peg warmer? No.
Yeah, Lando.
Now, I spent quite a bit of time putting this slide pack together because my knowledge or my memory of the retro collection, because I haven't collected all of it and I haven't made videos about all of it, it was a little bit scattershot. So I think I've kind of captured everything, and I believe I've kind of got it pretty much in the order it was released. Don't quote me on everything. If I've made a mistake, leave a comment below and call me an idiot. But
no, close enough.
I believe the next wave was the first season of The Mandalorian. So this is one where I went out. Now that I look at it here, I picked up The Mandalorian, Grogu, and I also picked up IG-11 because I just thought, he's different to IG-88, but he would, fit in well in my Star Wars display. It was a background character who would fit perfectly. Now,
it doesn't stand out. It doesn't stand out like a a sore thumb. Like, why is this figure? Yeah, no, you're right. Totally could work in like the streets of Bespin, the streets of Mos Eisley, anywhere on Tatooine, really, in a way. So yeah, totally. This was the line that I picked up, and that again, that Carl Weathers figure. What does it say? Grief Cargo. Is that like cargo on a plane that gives you a hard time? Anyway, that pistol does fit into his side holster, which again is a slick idea, and I have not seen it in anything before or after, and that was a nice touch. As if I'm trying to give him any kind of credit, everything else I got rid of. Well, no, I got all of it.
You mentioned this wave at the start, and you were like, and you didn't understand why they did a retro collection. Like, yes, it fits into the Star Wars timeline,
right?
Something I don't remember doing a video on this particular line, but I know something I would discuss on social media was that yes, it fits into the timeline of when Kenner was making this stuff, but by that point in the timeline, the figures would have had cloth capes, not vinyl capes.
Absolutely, exactly.
So I don't know why the Mandalorian figure from Series 1
Right.
came with a vinyl cape, but then we get Series 2 cloth cape.
Helmets.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, cloth, right. Cloth. Yeah. No, it's very inconsistent, and it doesn't, none of it, unless there's like somehow vaguely listening to the fans and the collectors, and somehow somebody pivoted and said, yeah, that was stupid to, I have no idea. I have no idea why. I don't know what costs more. I'd like to know what the cost difference is between a cloth and a vinyl cape. That would be interesting to know.
I would bet my bottom dollar that cloth cape would be a little more expensive.
I would
just
think,
the fact that it needs a couple of stitches, so
exactly.
someone's got to put that together.
Exactly.
Whereas a vinyl cape, surely that can just be punched out of a sheet of vinyl.
Yeah, that's a die cut. Yeah, totally. I would think the same, but again, I have no idea. That would be my logic, but sometimes old school logic doesn't work anymore with the new. Sometimes somehow, well, there's a die for that vinyl cape, and when you put in that cost and how many you have to make and yada, who knows? I have no idea. I don't have enough data to take an educated guess, but like you said, I would assume it would be the cloth just because of the manual labor.
Yeah. So what's that? We're up to about only 4 waves now, so we're probably still only in 2020 at this point. And then we get our first 2-pack.
Yep.
Dengar and IG-88. I remember when this came out, I was just like, why?
Yeah.
These figures aren't difficult to get.
Nope.
Certainly not Dengar. Even Dengar's accessory isn't difficult to get.
Right.
Yeah, sure, you might have to pay a little bit more for IG-88's ones, but it's at this point, we're 4 waves into the line. You're coming out with a 2-pack. Like, come out with a couple of last 17 figures.
Yeah.
It's what we were all asking for, or more unreleased characters. It took Hasbro so long to get with the program, and now that they've finally done it here in 2025 with a wave that is there's 5 unreleased figures out of the set of 6.
Right.
But we'll get into that when we get there. They're pretty underwhelming, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't remember. Just to defend my logic, for the price, I was again paying only MSRP or under, and 2, I would always take the retro sticker off, and it was a cheap way for me to achieve an aesthetic. I'm not going for I have an original on the original card back. I wanted to have a giant border of all these figures. I've had this idea since I was a little kid of all the figures on the card back, and if they're up, right where the ceiling meets the wall, and I'm as old as I am, they look pretty clean and pretty good. You don't notice the weathering so much, and it makes an aesthetic look. Is it as good as the originals? No, but you can't get a Dengar carded for under $50 at that quality, minus those shitty weathering.
Yeah.
At that quality, of a figure, and the bubble not yellowing or ripping off and all that. So that was my logic, and I always took off the sticker. I didn't freak out about the sticker as much as everybody else, because I remember hating all the stickers they put on the goddamn cards the whole time I was a kid. Mail away and get Forlom, mail away and get the Emperor, mail away and get this guy, Admiral Akbar. It was ridiculous, the number of stickers, and they were all about the same size. Some were little starbursts, some were circle, but there was forever and a day, these stickers were on every damn card back, on every Star Wars card I bought from 1978 through the end of it. So I wasn't all beside myself about the stickers like everybody else. A big goddamn sticker. The stickers on all of them half the time, in my experience as a kid. But they came off pretty damn easy too, unless you left them on. If you got an old, if you waited and bought some early waves and they had been on there for a while, then it's a pain in the dick to get them off. And the card back's so thin and shitty. If you do use lighter fluid and you rub too hard, you'll start rubbing the ink right off the damn card.
So I don't know if you can get this in the States, but in my local pharmacy, I think even in the supermarket, I buy bottles of eucalyptus oil.
Yes, I remember seeing you get that. I
Yeah,
went
so I
online and
actually did a short video on how to take the stickers off, and yeah,
Mhm.
eucalyptus oil, it will make all of the sticky back, all that gunky stuff.
Yeah.
It will make that free up, but it won't remove the artwork from the card back quite like lighter fluid will. So
Nice. That's
yeah,
I forgot you'd used that. And when you did, I even looked it up online and I just never pulled the trigger. I assumed it was because you have eucalyptus there up the wazoo. I assumed it was
yeah.
similar to like our Goo Gone or any of those citrus-based non-lighter fluid, adhesive remover
Yeah,
things.
I think any
This
kind
stuff-
of like citrus based
Right.
oil will work. Yeah, and I recommend that over lighter fluid for this particular application. So
Mhm, mhm.
um,
Yeah, somebody
I
else here
don't
said Goo Gone is decent. Works. Sorry.
I don't know if this 2-pack was available at retail. I have a feeling this would have been like a Pulse exclusive or something, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember.
I got all of my 2-packs off Amazon, so
Yeah,
I can't say it was an exclusive. But again, I wasn't
Amazon
paying.
they do that. So
Right. Oh, and I mean, right now, some of those figures are ridiculously cheap. Like if you want to buy the I guess it was the Last Crusade Indiana Jones. If you just want to buy that for his bag and other accessories to put on other figures, that figure on Amazon right now is like, I think $4, $5. Like you
is it
can't buy
really?
those. Yeah, it's crazy, at least in the States right now. Some of those retro, figures, there for a while, the original first wave, well, it was a re-release of the first wave 6 retro Star Wars figures. That was under $50. It was like $49.99 for a while. It's up to 75 now again. Things go up and down, but sometimes some of that stuff is super cheap. But anyway, my point is there were enough of these, except for Stormtroopers. I mean, some of the Boba Fett's now, because it was a quality re-release of Boba of all the figures.
Yeah,
Some of the sculpts were really, really soft. The figures didn't hold their weapons, but the Boba Fett was pretty good. And that, we all know how ridiculously overpriced a quality, crisp, well-painted Boba is now. So those prices of now aftermarket have gone way up too. All the
yeah.
figures, yeah, ridiculous.
So what I've actually done in my collection display is I've only got one vintage Boba because I think, like you say, he's ridiculously overpriced. I won't pay
Yep.
extra. So
Yep.
my vintage one is on display with the figures. My
Mhm.
retro collection one is in the cockpit of my slave one.
Perfect for cockpits. Exactly.
Yes.
Totally. That's my reasoning, my logic for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to correct a lie. I got that Darth Vader just to see. Terrible. It was terrible before I saw the Stan Solo, but after I saw the Stan Solo, it was embarrassingly bad. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. This by this point, I'm like, I just don't know what they're doing with this retro collection line. Like, what the fans want is for them to produce the really expensive, hard to get figures. So, like, just mass produce stormtroopers and Boba Fett's.
Yeah. Make
Do
10
the last
packs. Make 10 packs of Stormtroopers. People will buy them up. And they're for POA. They don't even have moving heads. They got to be one of the cheapest figures. Hardly, there's some detail black painting, but I guarantee that, people would buy 5 packs, 10 packs of those all day long.
Absolutely. And then give us, some of the last 17 figures.
Totally.
And then the other thing that the fans wanted were unreleased figures from the original trilogy.
Absolutely.
Nobody was asking for this shit.
No.
Like at the time, I was doing a bit of research the other day. At the time, when this first came out, they actually announced one figure before the rest of the wave. Which figure do you think they announced? And Hasbro actually did a couple of like videos on their Pulse channel with the designer talking about it. Which
for this specific wave?
For this specific wave, yeah.
I'm gonna guess it was Vader, but that's just a guess.
No, Reaver.
What? Wow.
Well, they tried to crowdfund a Reaver lightsaber. as a HasLab.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Probably a directive from Disney, I would say. It's like, hey, look, we've got this new strong female character, and look how that turned out. Yeah, they went hard on Reva before announcing the rest of this wave. So,
what did P.T. Barnum say? Give the people what they want. Is it opposite day? Are we doing the opposite of what? Are we force marketing? You will buy this,
Captain. It's 2025. That's not the Disney Lucasfilm mantra these days. It's not give the people what they want. It's tell the people what they should want.
You will like what we give you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently not. Wow. Yeah, I don't have any Disney access or anything. Not that I'm crying the blues. I don't care. I just by choice. So I haven't seen the shows, but I know you watched, I think, like the first season of The Mandalorian, and you said it was first, one or two seasons were okay?
I think I watched, were there 3 seasons?
I don't know. I know it got bad. I know they all got bad.
The first 2 seasons were good, although I didn't like Boba Fett being brought into the second season.
Right.
Obviously, I did, I think, 2 videos about the Book of Boba Fett because that was so bad. And then season 3 of The Mandalorian, that's where they had like Jack Black in it and stuff. That it just went.
Wow.
It went bad. But the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, I don't mind.
Okay.
I did watch Obi-Wan. Like hate watched the whole thing, every episode. What the hell is this shit? But since then, nothing. Like I haven't seen The Acolyte. I don't even think I'm going to watch Andor season 2. It's just what I used to do back in the day would be when The Mandalorian would come out, I would get a free Disney trial.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you would get it free for a week or 2, so you could watch the first couple of episodes. If I liked it, I would continue watching it. Normally 8 episodes over a 2-month period, so I would pay for like 2 months. Right. Then I would cancel my subscription and wait for the next show. I haven't had a Disney Plus subscription now in a very long time, so I can't see myself renewing it, not even for Andor season 2. So yeah.
I don't understand FOMO. I mean, I understand it, but when I was a kid, only the lames feared of missing out. Like, you didn't want to be that guy that cared about missing out, really. Like, at least you didn't want to show it. But like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything with the Disney thing. I can really compartmentalize Star Wars. I'm fine with the original trilogy. I guess I was young enough and got caught up in the hype of going to see the prequels, but it was more about a social event because I was seeing it with lifelong friends that I'd known since preschool, through middle school, high school, into our 20s. So we just made a night of it and would go opening night for each release of the prequels. But the movies were always pretty much disappointing, and by the end, it just was sad. But I don't feel like I'm missing out. I'm sure I know tons of people like it. I'm sure people like the streaming stuff and the sequels, and I know the prequels, the millennials, they really love that whole thing, and that's fine. That's cool. It's just but it's not precious to me that it somehow detracts from the stuff I like. Yeah.
It's not yes, they have ruined Star Wars, I feel.
Right.
But they haven't ruined my Star Wars.
Right. The trilogy I can still watch and not be upset that everything Luke and his father did and all that was bullshit.
What I will say though is that under Disney's reign, it has given me a newfound appreciation for the prequels.
Indeed.
And I found myself going back and watching because Attack of the Clones, I think, is better than anything Disney's done outside of possibly Rogue One. Attack of the Clones is better than anything Disney's done, I think. So
it's amazing when the bar keeps getting set lower in anything, whether it's a brand you like or a flavor of something you like or a movie series you like. When it keeps getting worse, it's fascinating how oh wow, those prequels really weren't so bad compared to the, pulling your skin off slowly with a banana peeler of the
Yeah,
sequels and that kind of thing. Sorry about my phone making noise. I'll silence that. No, it is funny how I grew to, wow, that really, some of those weren't so bad. I mean, there's still some ridiculous things.
Have you got a Star Trek text alert on your phone?
It's one of the sounds for one of the people. That was actually Joseph that just texted me. I'm sure something snide and hurtful.
Nice.
No. I just his specific alert is a specific Star Trek sound. Yeah, certain people get certain.
Okay. Yeah, it's like when the wife calls me, it's Darth Vader's theme music because it's just
exactly.
Oh God, what now?
I have another great friend of mine. Whenever his wife calls, same thing. It's the Imperial March. Yeah. So
she doesn't.
The wives don't think it's funny. I think it's hilarious, but for some reason, most of the wives don't think it's that funny.
Yeah, well, but my wife finds it funny.
Well, Gracie has a hell of a sense of humor, but not
she
everybody.
does. Yeah. If her ringtone when she calls me had been the Imperial March for a long time, and she didn't know, because normally we're not in the same room, and then and my phone is on silent most of the time. Anyway, there's one day I couldn't find my phone anywhere, and so I've said to Grace, "Hey, can you call my phone? Like I can't find it," and it wasn't on silent, and it started ringing, and she's like, "What the hell is that?"
Right,
right. It's like Darth Vader's coming for me. So
that's great.
Mvargo 97 has been a member for 18 months, one of the first YouTube channel members. Thank you very much, Mvargo.
Good man.
Very much appreciated. And GeForce Racing also gifted 10 Analog Toys memberships. That is very, very much appreciated. And Shelved Scenes. Here is a YouTube handle that I'm not familiar with. I don't know if this is the first ever super chat from Shelved Scenes or if you've changed your name, but thank you very much. Very generous super chat there. I appreciate the Kenner Star Wars figure pop art aesthetic applied to all Star Wars. I wish Hasbro was better at capturing the Kenner vibe. They should take notes from the fans making customs. Absolutely.
Big. I think they finally did, but it's really kind of, we'll get there, but I think it's too little too late. But anyway, I digress. I 100% agree with that comment.
Yeah, they finally picked up on it and then just didn't execute on it very well.
Yeah.
So
a solid C-.
Absolutely. Then we get our first Return of the Jedi wave. As I said, I picked up the Jedi Luke. I believe I picked it up. I wanted to check out. I've got a couple of Jedi Lukes in my collection, original ones, and I think my green saber Luke is all original. My blue saber Luke has the original blaster, the original saber, but he had a custom cloak, which just bought off eBay somewhere. So I picked that up to see if that custom cloak was better, and it wasn't. The one I'd already bought on eBay was better. So he later on, I chopped his head off and turned him into a helmetless Luke X-wing pilot.
Perfect.
But outside of that, did I pick up a biker scout? I might have picked up a biker scout just to have an extra.
I was going to say it was a nice, cheap way to pick up a crisp white biker scout. And because the stand, at least most of the biker scouts I've seen in almost every single one in my collection, they have a bit of a wide stance. I think it had to do with fitting on the bike, the speeder bike and the handlebars. So, because the stance on this one's a little different, it actually can kind of change up your display in so much that, they have a different stance. And it was a pretty crisp sculpt. It actually held as well as the originals held the weapon, which wasn't great. It held the weapon. And again, it was crisp white that you could never get, for $11.99, you could not get a crisp white original biker scout, period. I don't care who you are, where you go. You just can't. Anyway,
Flash here says that's his favorite version of Leia. It's mine as well. I remember in childhood, that was probably one of the first Return of the Jedi figures I saw, and it wasn't in a toy store. Like a kid down the street came round with it, and I was like, removable helmet.
Right.
I was.
Oh yeah, huge. Oh, it totally upped
7-year-old Tony. What the?
No, I mean, well, because we hadn't seen it yet, and for me, because I wasn't collecting GI Joe or anything, which had removable helmets. I mean, this was huge to us. This is before Mask came out with their removable helmets at a smaller scale, and then they haven't done it, of course, because it's one. Is it? Maybe it's not. I forget. Is Endor Leia one of the last 17? Endor Luke is. Anyway, the Endor Leia, having
no. She's just she's on a Return of the Jedi card. She was 84.
Okay. I thought so, but again, like you had pointed out in your video, like next to Yoda, she has the equal amount of the number of accessories because the helmet, the belt, the gun, and the cloak or poncho, yeah. But this one, again, it started with, other than Lando in this same wave, those were the first two figures that I had seen that had that removable helmet, and I thought it was amazing. Why don't they all do this? And she has a huge, long rifle. I mean, it's so many bespoke weapons in this wave, or back in the day in the original Jedi wave, compared to waves before.
Yeah. Then we get our next 2-pack, Forlom and Zuckuss. Famously, Kenny got the names mixed around.
Yep.
I've never understood people's fascination with that because back in the day, we didn't know their names anyway.
Thank you.
But I think what's important to note here, between this 2-pack, the previous 2-pack, and Boba being released in the Empire wave, it means they've done all the Empire bounty hunters except Bosk, and they still haven't done Bosk.
They did. I'm pretty sure they did a Bosk. I think they did a Bosk with a Boba. I think they did a 2-pack. I could be wrong, but I want to say they did I think they did a 2-pack. They re-released Boba in that. I think the chat might correct me, but I want to say for some reason I remember this.
Yeah.
Let me just BOS.
I'm patiently waiting on. Okay, no, they did a Bosk. Okay. Michael is correct.
I thought, just because I thought I had it, I don't remember buying an original Bosk on card, and I know I have a carded Bosk, so it must be the retro collection. Okay.
Well, I missed that one in my research. So that's another 2-pack they've done then. So
probably because Boba's so popular, that was sold out probably more than any of the other 2-packs, would be my guess.
Yeah. So as I said, I think that Empire wave, because they had like Yoda and Boba Fett selling out everywhere, and then all the others people, surely the retailers are complaining.
Right.
I think that's why they then went, let's just, and they did it with this wave here.
Yeah.
They went, let's release this as a 6-pack.
Yep.
So this is the first time they do a last 17 figure. We get Yak Face.
Yep.
One of the most desirable last 17 figures.
Absolutely.
Then we get a Mon Mothma, which they never made. This is the kind of stuff people wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And now, where they were insulting us before with putting the unreleased figures in board games, now collectors like you and I, who already have Akbar and the Gamorrean Guard and Wicked, and we have to buy 6 figures to get that one figure that we want.
Yep.
To get Mon Mothma. So I never bothered. I believe Retro Blasting picked this, whether he bought the whole set. I
think he bought Mon Mothma separately. I want to say. I think he got it separate.
Which
now I justified it
for.
Right. For me, I justified it. One, I obviously wanted Mon Mothma, but I could army build the Imperial Guard and the Gamorrean Guard, or the Imperial whatever he is, Emperor's Royal Guard, because those two you can use. I had a place that I could use a second Wicked in my display, just because I have like Endor on the ground and Endor in the on top of the Ewok Village. But yeah, it was, not to mention my Mon Mothma. I got 2 packs because I wanted one carded and one loose. Both of my Mothmas on the card came without the blaster. Now, because I collect Stan Solo and I have extras, it didn't bother me. But right there, I have it on video. No blaster on both. And some people were getting yak faces where the ears were either not sculpted or was such a soft sculpt that you couldn't even barely see the ears on some people's yak faces. I didn't have that issue, but I did have a blasterless Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
Right from Hasbro's quality HQ.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting a lot harder to get now, but if you wanted a yak face without paying the ridiculous prices, you should have got a Stan Solo one.
Oh my God, yes. I'm so glad I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I just reveled in the idea that when this was released, that probably the best thing about this wave for me was going, what are you anti-repro idiots going to say now?
Yeah, they can't say a word. Well, Hasbro made it. It stands out that it's different. Other makers try to fake people, and they don't market that it's somehow different. So at least Hasbro's caring about the fans enough to. They didn't say a word about, because you did show those. IG-88 and Dengar, they made those weapons in the original blue Empire Strikes Back color.
Yeah,
they didn't make them in the new black like all of the other weapons they made in different colors. So all those weapons, nobody said boo about how close they were to the originals, the colors, all of that.
Yeah.
They have, and I didn't hear much rumblings about this yak face. I mean, other than that ear issue, but yeah, all the anti-repro. Yeah. I only want, real Hasbro. They like to use that real world word. I didn't hear a word about that when this line came out. It is interesting how hypocritical they are.
I had nothing left to say, so thank God.
Yeah.
I don't even remember this wave coming out.
Yeah.
This was from the Ahsoka series. Yeah, this flew right past me.
Yeah.
Chopper, I think, would have been pretty cool to add a unique kind of droid to the display, but I mean, I've
Is
got
that the name of that?
Stan Solo droids. I don't need that.
Is that what the name of that droid with the caster?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not an expert on any of this kind of era of Star Wars stuff.
Looking at these again, just to bring it back to that Grief cargo figure, I'm curious if any of those holsters worked for any of those blasters. I'd like to know that, just because I think that trying to, not that I'm trying to find one nice thing to say, but it is something that was a nice feature. I'm just curious looking at the broad with the green tentacles and the other broad on the far top right. If those two side holsters look like they possibly could be, maybe. I mean, the two on the one and the one on. They don't. Thank you, Chronically.
Yeah.
Oh, Chronically. That's right. He reviews modern stuff. He would know.
Yeah. Good to see you here. Yeah, not much more to say about this particular wave. When this was announced, I'm like, oh, what are we doing now?
Same.
Why? Who asked for this? It's the storyline is set so far away from, Empire Strikes Back and those films. Did they think that collectors of the originals were like, I really want some Phantom Menace. I want a Jar Jar Binks that can mix in with my Canon 1978 action figures. Like, who really?
I'd have to know the sales figures of how well any of the non-original trilogy retro, waves did for them to justify this. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that love those movies that can square that circle, but they didn't collect. Maybe they did. Maybe there's a whole group of people that did collect the original classic Kenner stuff, and but I just don't see how it's going to fit with any display. But then there's a whole group of people that just collect figures. There isn't a display. The display is the figures. So maybe it's just to have that high school, senior class photo of just the figures. Maybe. I don't know. Everybody collects and displays differently. I don't get it, though. I can't get it.
Chronically here says, guys,
Holy
the
shit.
vintage collection figures are officially $19.99 each. I'm done with Star Wars. And Jason Anderson, Star Wars fart in the box. Now with more Jar Jar.
Fart in a box. That's great.
And Keith Holmesley, for once, you and I agree. Doesn't always happen, but
He
Darth
changed.
Maul is overrated in his opinion.
Did Keith change his avatar from
He did, yeah.
laughing? Ah, he's jumping on that. Don't break your ankle jumping on that Superman bandwagon. I'm kidding.
As a side note, I know you're a huge fan of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Absolutely, yes. First movie I ever saw projected in the theater. It had a huge effect on me.
What are your thoughts on the trailer for the new James Gunn Superman?
I'm very highly cautiously hopeful. Not optimistic, but hopeful. There's a possibility.
I'm saying the same. Like you know, all the years I've been on YouTube, you know, people talk about how I mean, Michael gets it worse than I do, but you know how we hate everything. It's like, dude, if I hated everything, I wouldn't be making all of these. And it's very rare, actually. Certainly in the last 12 to 18 months, I've made a shift away from. All I had to do was stop talking about modern toys, and then I didn't have to hate on everything quite so much. But what I will say is, I never hope that any future movie, TV show, whatever, I want to see good stuff.
Same here.
I really enjoyed that first trailer. I didn't understand. People just they saw Crypto the dog and went, "Oh, we've got a way to." And it's like, no, I thought Crypto the dog looked cool. It was a really great live action interpretation.
And even canonically, Crypto's look has changed throughout the decades. Everybody forgets. I mean, this character's been around since June of 1938. Shit has changed. The number of times that symbol, his emblem on his chest, has changed is ridiculous. It's more than Batman's symbol. It's this character has changed. But no, I'm with you. The problem today is anybody that has a clear opinion that isn't of the all powerful speaking continuum that everybody else thinks, and it spits in the face of anything, instead of people like understanding, oh, it's just an opinion, and they really know themselves and really know what they like and dislike. Instead of that, they somehow conflate it to, you're questioning me and what I like. No, I just don't like it. Just because I'm openly shitting on something doesn't mean you're wrong for liking. I have a ton of friends that like a ton of things I don't like. I grew up my whole life. None of my close friends liked or ever got the gestalt of Star Trek. That's fine. It didn't bother me. It didn't make me like Star Trek less or like anything else I like more or less. But people just get so upset with strong opinions and people really thinking it through. And clearly, no one with those opinions is saying somebody else with a counter opinion is wrong. They're just saying, this is what I think. And nobody wants that. Everybody wants, oh, we all like this. We all pray at the same altar of the same card backs of the same figures. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's not like that. I don't understand that mentality, that group think.
It's, for me, an indication of people who are very, very insecure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And their identities wrapped up in these groups and these fandoms, instead of, I don't even know if half of them know why they're a fan about something. What is it about X that you like? I mean, how many people can actually verbalize that? And then when someone else with a strong, well thought out, well executed opinion comes along and it's somehow contrary to what this person thinks, they think you're attacking them, and it's not that. You're just, I strongly believe this sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I've never understood that. It never bothered me. Over time, like if I see somebody's batting average and their taste is shit, yeah, okay, I'll maybe judge them, and this person just doesn't have great taste, and maybe I shouldn't listen to what they're recommending for movies. For me personally, that's one thing, but you're allowed to like and dislike whatever the hell you want. And I still like the person that has shitty taste. I have a friend that has Horrible taste in films. The guy went and paid money in the theater to see Dude, Where's My Car? Horrible taste in films. I love the guy. He's one of my best friends. He just has shitty taste in movies. Doesn't offend me. I mean, his taste is offensive, but you know what I'm saying.
I look, you know how friendly I am with Bobby Valor, and he likes the Snyderverse.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. I do judge him for it, but it's okay.
I heard Bobby shit all over Christopher Reeve, talking about how he wasn't, slapped together like tiny Henry Cavill, who's too short to play Superman, and Christopher Reeve. I've seen photos of Christopher Reeve working out. I've seen videos of him. The amount of muscle and weight he put on. I'll take 6'4" Chris Reeve over Henry Cavill any day. Yeah. Any day. Henry Cavill didn't have to, but was forced to wear muscle shit under his suit. There were silver metal muscle things under the suit because it was so sheer. That's the look they were going for. Don't even get me started on the whole suit thing, but moving on. We're here talking about the retro collection and everybody's favorite, the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, everybody's favorite. This was just an absolute dumpster fire of a TV series. I just don't know what they were thinking. This created a lot of comedy for my channel. I think I did a couple of videos.
I remember fondly
the Book of Boba Fett.
Big time.
Yeah, but what's notable about this particular wave is that it's the biggest wave they've done. 8 figures in total, probably. And it's the Book of Boba Fett wave. And look at Boba Fett. We get him in his. He looks like Friar Tuck.
That's hilarious. Sorry, that's funny.
But probably because we got the Boba Fett version in a previous Mandalorian wave. I don't know, so they give us this.
Wasn't it? It was culottes and neck scarf, fat Boba Fett in the first version, right? Yeah. The only one in this I got was the Sand People because I thought it's retro enough. Plus, it has a cloth that it would give my display of Sand People, because I have many of them, a different flavor. But that's the only figure I picked up. I figured people might pick up the Grogu only because you could get it is a softer mold than the original, but the backpack, the training harness, the Jedi training harness, if you want the original, it is from the original. But if you look at them side by side, you can tell they must have pulled the mold off of the original because this is much softer. The detail on it is not near as crisp as the original. But anyway, it would be a cheap way again to get one of those. I could see, but I don't understand the wave that Black Santin. Nobody says that name right because all those R's you got to roll it like Chewie did. It's not. I don't even watch this shit and nobody says that right. Here we go.
Then all of a sudden, this one kind of came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Because originally, I believe Hasbro were, people like, why can't you do R2, C3, and everyone's like that. They won't do VAC metal. They won't do VAC metal. They won't do VAC metal. Oh, we're doing VAC metal.
Yeah.
Well, it says VAC metal finish. So I don't know how they actually did it. Because like with Stan Solo, he actually uses a process called electroplating.
Exactly. Yeah, the vac metal is actually, like you said, it's in a vacuum, and the metal, in a gaseous state deposits itself. Whereas like you said, what Chris does, it's plated. Like the plastic is a special color. Then I believe there's a copper plating, and then whether it's the gold chrome of 3PO or the white chrome of R2 is put on top of that. And it's, like you said, it's a true electroplate. It's a totally different process. But again, they say vac metal, but people throw that term around all the time. And I don't even know if they're using vac metal or if they're using electroplate. Well, but the shockingly really good quality on those. Really shockingly good for how poor most of the previous releases.
So you've actually handled some of these?
Yes.
Or you've got some of these?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the really, really nice, great, finish. I wouldn't say, again, the sculpts are soft. especially if I'm comparing 3PO to, like, say, a Stan Solo or my original 3PO. The sculpts are a little bit softer on these. The dome, I believe they changed a little bit on R2, so it wouldn't be, I think, don't quote me on that, but I think it's a tiny bit different. The size of those pie wedges or whatever you want to call them on the top of his dome that are, painted that transparent blue. I think they're a tiny bit different than the original release. Because again, to get those two figures that they made more of, well, maybe not R2, but they made a ton of those, and to get those in that quality of original, you're paying through the nose for those. Same with a Death Squad commander.
Yeah. Look. R2 is a hard vintage figure to get because with each film they change. So you have the solid dome, you have the sensor scope, and then later on down the line, the pop-up saber. And you've got the combination of trying to get the good quality VAC metal, but then also with a clean sticker.
Exactly.
And I've got an R2 in my collection with an immaculate dome and a filthy, dirty sticker. How did this happen? The kid with the dirty fingers. The dirt didn't apply itself to the VAC metal. Like the figure's clearly not been played with a lot, but it's been. Yeah, the stickers made contact with a lot of dirt and grime over the years, and now it's not, an incredibly well displayable figure. So you know what I do with him? I put him in the foam of Dagobah. So the nice shiny dome is in the top, and the dirty stickers kind of hidden. And what you can see, well, he's in the swamp. It makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a Dagobah dirty. Yeah, absolutely. Again, they could have made that figure. I would have bought a mucked up. R2. I made a fake one, myself with, like you said, I used the Stan Solo one. But yeah, I mean, again, to get these, if you could find them and got them for retail, the price, you could get a Sand Person if you want that or Sand People. Oh, you know what? I don't remember what the card back said on that. If it said Sand People or Tusken Raider. I know on the box there it says Tusken Raider, but I don't remember the card back what it was named, because I think they might have changed that at some point in the run between.
Yeah, because the original Kenner one, it was Sand People.
Totally.
Yeah. Then we get what I call the prequel sequel wave. So, and this is what you're talking about. You think these might have been sold as 2 3-packs because there was 3 figures from Attack of the Clones and 3 from Revenge of the Sith. So
I could be remembering that wrong, but I think when I was looking on Hasbro Pulse at one point, I think that's my memory, that there was a 3 and a 3-pack, not a 6-pack.
Again, this is I don't remember this wave being announced or coming out. I never saw it anywhere. If I saw this at retail and it was either retail or on sale, I might pick up Django.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because he could just be another, background character in Mos Eisley.
Totally.
If you wipe everything past 1983 out of your memory, he would just make for a very good generic, retro styled Mandalorian character in the background. So
without a doubt.
But beyond that, John Papa Sergio says it's definitely a 6-pack. It's on Pulse and the Disney shop. Okay,
thank you, sir.
If it's still on Pulse, it obviously didn't sell that well.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Did anybody even care?
I forgot until that came up. I actually forgot about that 6-pack. I never saw the show. It's still in that line of I don't understand most of the figures that are that aren't from the original trilogy. I just don't understand it in this style. I understand it in the vintage collection. I understand it in the Black Series 6-inch. I understand it in any of those other lines, just not the retro line. It doesn't.
Yeah. And, there might be a directive coming from Disney that, you have to do this, but whether they're making this or whether they're making figures from The Empire Strikes Back, they're still paying a royalty. So why does it matter? And it's, again, they're not giving the people what they want.
Truly.
I don't think anybody asked for this. So
just missed waves, missed opportunities as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah. And that brings us to February of 2025 when they announce another 6-pack. And this was a real shift in gears from Hasbro. So we get 5 unreleased figures and Buttface.
Yeah, pretty much.
He was even when I was a kid, he was always like ass mouth to me. This guy has a bum for a mouth.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like the original 50s Fly, the black and white one. That's kind of what the Fly's, mandible kind of sort of looked like. Yeah, it was. The first thing I thought on this was just too little too late. Like it takes a lumbering giant of a corporation to respond this quickly to the market from, like you said, 2019, which was already, people had already started making, fans had already started making figures in that aesthetic before the line launched. And it takes them this long to finally get, this is what the line should and could have been.
Yeah.
But each execution, let's say Save the Sand Trooper, each execution is worse than, if a fan has already done it, is worse than any of the fans. This giant Hasbro that owns the rights is not executing at the level. Anyway, again, I'll try to say one good thing. I was shocked that for whatever reason, 5 new figures, 6-pack, and it's the cheapest 6-pack they ever released, if memory serves. Because I ordered it online because it's a Target exclusive, but it was, I want to say it was like 50. It was the least amount. It wasn't 71 or 69. It was much lower than any of the other 6-packs. Okay. Really surprised me, especially with all the prices going up. I'm like, why would this 6-pack with 5 new figures, 5 new sculpts be less than the previous? That didn't make sense, unless somehow because Target exclusive and they promised to buy so many that somehow drove the cost down. But that doesn't make sense to me.
Let's get into the individual figures. So I pulled this one up first because this is just a layup. This is them going, 80% of the way there with all of these new characters, and then saying, just throw Walrus Man in. Like, wouldn't Greedo have been a better choice?
Totally. Greedo, the spaceman. Prominent character. If you're going to do 5 new figures, I get that. Okay, you're doing Dr. Evazan, so kind of sort of Walrus Man needs to go along with it. But then why not make him a new figure? Make him, it's similar to what Stan Solo's done, a screen accurate or a more accurate version. Why not do that?
Are you telling me that this one is not screen accurate?
Or, they've already done it. It wouldn't be wrong in the line. They could have made a removable arm. Could have used the same horrible sculpt and made a removable arm. If you want to add a
that
feature.
Would have been cool. Yeah.
It would have been something, but because they did it with 3PO. But yeah, anyway, this figure makes no sense to me. One of the worst original 12 in that it just looks really nothing like the screen figure, really.
Yeah.
You pointed that out before, though, when you were doing you've been doing that series of the original Kenner Different Waves, and you pointed out how some of those original figures were just so sci-fi, so 70s, and not because they had very little source material. The film wasn't even out yet, so.
Well, and particularly with when they went from the first 12 to the 20 backs, so the next 8 figures, they were rushed.
Yeah,
like really rushed. Between this guy, Snaggletooth, Greedo, even X-Wing Luke to a degree, like they rushed these figures. It's quite evident that they did. So
I think Walrus Man's image on the card back is one of those airbrushed, kind of like Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker was, that it wasn't really a photo from the film. So, like, to your point of it being rushed, I think the card back actually still has that imagined. What's his name? Pruneface, I think, had a similar card back like that.
Yes, Pruneface did. Yeah, he definitely had an airbrushed artwork on his card back. Yeah.
Sorry to keep, going backwards. You went on to Dr. Evazan.
Oh, no, that's fine. George Aiken said,
Yeah.
I feel they're copying Stan Solo now. Look, Stan Solo has been giving the fans what they want, and it's taken Hasbro pretty much 6 years to go, look, I'm sure they're aware the most popular figures were Tarkin, Snowspeeder Luke, Mon Mothma, but they made each one of these, hard to get, where particularly Mon Mothma, where you're having to buy 5 figures that you probably don't need to get the one that you want.
Totally.
In this case, you've got to buy 1 figure you don't want to get 5 potentially. I don't particularly want them,
right? Because we're lucky enough to have the Stan Solos. I mean, I could see it for the people that, because he's not making a lot of those figures anymore, that missed out. But yeah, they're so inferior to the versions we have.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get there, but yeah.
This is probably the one figure in the set that I'm like, hey, I wouldn't mind this guy. I'm not going to pick up the whole set of 6 just to get him, but if I come across him on his own one day, I might pick this up. This not bad.
No, I agree. And the fact that they even went as far to give him a second gun that is, I guess it's the screen accurate gun for Walrus Man.
Yeah.
So that is like, why does it take so long to do that kind of thing? But why wouldn't they put it in the Walrus Man packaging? Is it because they wanted to keep it to look like the original? Why wouldn't you put his? I don't understand that. That's a strange choice to put it, because it's in a 6-pack. You're not selling him loose.
Yeah.
I just don't quite understand that choice.
Next up, we have.
It's fine.
I was about to say that Kenner would never make a figure with a permanent bend at the elbow, but they actually did that with the very first Han Solo, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Although his was kind of lower down, like the gunslinger pose.
Right.
But
and
look,
they made Weequay in that permanent hold the staff pose. One hand this way, one. But yeah, I mean, at least the precedent has been set. But yeah, I agree. I'm not wild about elbow bends, but whatever. It's something.
And I don't know what that blaster is supposed to be.
Trash Compactor sells that. Some other makers sell it. I get it must have been on screen, at one scene in one. I'm sure somebody in the chat that knows all about the weapons will comment. But supposedly one of the many blasters that they're holding, when they're walking around in all those different Mos Eisley scenes and whatever. But it never comes to my mind. But I'm not hip to all the different weaponry from the Star Wars films.
I'm not familiar with it. Certainly not with those, with that
George
magazine in the middle. It just looks weird.
He says that rifle was in A New Hope. George Aitken says so.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
But look, this is the figure that people are going to want to army build.
Oh, yeah.
But what are you going to do? Have you got to go and buy half a dozen Walrus Mans and Dr. Eversons?
That was my point. Since they made the precedent with the retro collection of making 2-packs, they could have done 2 or 3 packs of this. They could have done a white, a black, and an orange pauldron 3-pack. Or even if they didn't want to do different pauldrons, they could have still done 2 or 3 packs of these and people would have bought them up.
Yep.
Easily.
Yep. Because they can just paint the pauldrons themselves and
yeah, make them all black for that matter. Yeah, and let people paint the white and the orange. I know, I agree.
I do notice the pauldron is not a separate piece. This is molded into the torso and molded into the shoulder. So if you articulate his arm, it's not going to line up. It's like his top of the shoulder is going to look like an articulated Rubik's Cube.
And the ammo pack on his left shoulder, that moves with the left shoulder. It looks like that's a separate sculpt. That the pauldron, I will say, that is very similar to what the Pro Customs is like. It's similar. I want to say that the pauldron on the shoulder is a separate piece like that, so it doesn't line up like you said. If he does move his normally,
you sent me one of these, and the pauldron's actually a separate accessory that
No,
comes
no,
with
I
it.
sent you a
Yeah.
special thing. That's
Oh,
it's a Pro Custom standard Stormtrooper with
with some
a
accessories. Yeah.
right with the pauldron in it. Yeah, because I liked how that you had the choice of if you wanted to take off the backpack which this does. I don't believe as a backpack. This is just a standard sculpt
Yeah.
of the back of the figure, which that's a miss too, on Hasbro's part. But yeah, you have the option to take it off because options. But yeah. This is molded in, but the Pro Customs I think is similar. I don't believe they have the ammo pack though on the left, or if they do, it's less noticeable. That's almost oversized to my eye.
Yeah.
But it's also very Kenner. This is that head sculpt makes the pea-headed Stormtrooper Han Luke look great. That is a horrible head sculpt and neck, I think.
It is. I mean, look how wide the helmet looks.
Oh yeah, it's really big.
It looks like that it's from Spaceballs rather than Star Wars. Like, yeah, they so missed the mark with this.
I agree.
If you want a retro style Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise, you should have gone with the Stan Solo one.
100%.
Yeah, this
I agree, yeah. The head sculpt is so
it's
much
too little,
better
too late.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. It's 6 years too late. I agree. But again, this should have been a 2-pack. This should have been a Han and a Luke, Stormtrooper disguise 2-pack, as far as I'm concerned.
I pulled up an image of the card back for this one because again, the Stan Solo card back is far superior to the artwork they've chosen here as well.
I do think it does appear that they have toned down or pretty much gotten rid of a lot of that fake weathering, I think, on these card backs.
They've toned it down. They haven't. It's like
okay.
You're halfway there. It's almost like you're listening to us, but you won't get rid of it completely. You'll just dial it back a little bit.
And I even think I heard that they allege that the sticker is more of an easy peel sticker, the Retro Collection Circle Roundel thing. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea if that's true. I'll believe it when I see it. But I mean, if they did, 6 years too late. But apparently somebody's listening. If that's the case. But I don't need any of the weathering because I know the card back had stars, but not that many. Yeah. Whatever I'm seeing there on that image.
Now, the Rebel Fleet Trooper.
Highly wanted figure, but again, having seen the Stan Solo one, and I have some of the Pro Customs figures as well, but those are so much superior. And now I think even the next 17 might have done one of these, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I
believe. But yeah, there's no chin strap. It looks Kenner, don't get me wrong, but it's having seen what other people have made, and this is a big giant corporate. This is a letdown to me.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. It's
should be in a 2 or a 3-pack. Army build the hell out. People would have bought the shit out of these things. They have how many of those Tanev 4 hallway play sets that were overpriced, are still around trying to be sold. People could have put a whole shit ton of these in there.
Dude, I picked up one of those. I hated the whole concept of that hallway. I picked it up because I'm a YouTube content creator, and it actually makes for a really nice background with it. You put it on I actually tried to put it into one of my display shelves, and I thought, I'll put some of my characters it looks absolutely crap on a display shelf, but when I can put it here in the studio and just zoom in and have one section of it, it looks really good. But
and you didn't pay list price. If you get it, it's a lot of these. Like I bought the Jabba the Hutt diorama thing with the 3 walls, but I didn't. I got it highly discounted, and for what it is, and for sure I could justify it, but that a quarter of a hallway for what the MSRP was, But I agree with you. You know, you get it discounted, you use it for content, it looks fine. You zoom it in and frame it right. But these should have been a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or whatever number pack you want to make. But
yeah,
people would have bought the shit out of these. But again, it's disappointing because we've seen what Stan Solo did, and it's so far superior. The helmet, when you see the shape of the helmet and the size of it and how it looks, the Stan Solo is far superior. Again, I already commented on chin strap being missing. I believe this is just a regular Bespin guard or Bespin blaster. I don't believe it's a bespoke, because the Stan Solo one is again bespoke. It's a different sculpt, so you're getting more, for your money. But
yeah,
whatever.
And now we get to what I like to call Playmobil Luke.
Jesus, that face.
He looks like his head sculpt. As soon as I saw this, I was like, "That's a Playmobil figure."
Yeah, totally.
Like
Jason, early on, Jason Anderson had said about this. I said, "This makes the X-wing pilot Luke look screen accurate. It's so bad." You know what I mean? Yeah. Like as silly and toy as that one was, and not looking like Luke. This is like, is he related to Sloth from the Goonies? Like, it's just that strange walleye. The only thing I can say good is, at least compared to the Power of the Force 2 Luke, the metal looks to be at a better scale than.
Yeah.
This is just, I just never had a hard on for the Yavin Ceremony Luke. I know some people love it. I never did.
No, I never have. It's not a. That jacket doesn't do him any favors. Yeah. I don't think. But I've already seen some people online saying, like, they're going to take the retro Luke from the first wave and do a head swap.
Oh,
I'm like, okay. Yeah, okay, but look at his legs,
right? And look, right. But and also look how thick. Isn't his neck super thick to you? Like, where the collar, like. The neck and the head don't quite line up right. I'm curious if you do head swap it, if you're going to just have this big giant like flat part where the neck is, because the head's going to be thinner. Yeah, the legs don't look right. And they should. If you do this, like, then in the scene, he does wear that blaster on his hip, the Leia blaster. Believe it or not, when he's walking down to get his medal. But this should have been a 2 or 3 pack. There should have been a Yavin Luke, Han, and Leia. Or if not Han, because I think Han kind of sort of wears what he always wore. But at least the Luke and the Leia, do another.
Yeah, Han's like, he's in his normal gear, but he's actually he's running iron over it.
Right.
Having the medal for him. And you know what I thought would have been really cool would be to do a Chewie and give him the medal that he didn't get back then.
There you go.
Yeah.
That face sculpt is atrocious.
Oh, it's horrendous. And even the artwork on this card back just looks lazy.
It is. None of the artwork was ever that compared. We were spoiled because Kenner just knocked it out of the park. That the artwork, so it was grainy sometimes because it was taken from film. But I mean, they did the best effort. But some of this artwork on these card backs is just terrible. You can really see the weathering there. That's definitely not stars up at the top there.
Yeah, it's weathering. Yeah. So that's the last slide I've got, but I want to go back to. Okay. Yeah. Something else that really stood out to me here is if you look at Dr. Evazan, Yavin Ceremony Luke, and the Rebel Fleet Trooper.
Mm-hmm.
Why are their arms like sticking out?
Yeah, it is a strange split. You're right. The arms are quite splayed. That is
on all 3 of them. This is not something that Stan Solo does.
Nope.
This is not Kenner's. I mean, when you look at Walrus Man, you're like, oh, well, Walrus Man's like that, but not all the Kenner figures did.
Totally.
I look at this and I'm like, what have you done here? Why are they? I don't know. Is the idea to take those 3 figures and have them do, ring a rosies or something?
It's all joined hands now. Yeah. It really is. not I didn't notice it before that you pointed out. Now that's all I see. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Evazan's hand looks a little different, but the other Luke and the Fleet Trooper, both hands look identical, mirrored, but almost too similar.
And they don't look like Kenner designed hands.
No, it's really that arm splay is bizarre, and they're almost straight armed.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. They're all just like this. It's weird.
I mean, maybe, but even when you raise your arms, like I'm thinking of the Fleet Troopers, but they had their arms on their heads, right? They had their arms behind their head. They didn't really have them raised up. So you can't even, because I saw somebody say something about raising their arms, but no, it's these are all
French Star Wars figures designed to easily surrender.
I remember it was oh God, that's so good. Oh God, what's his name? Jonathan Winters. So Jonathan Winters was a Marine. He was in World War II, of course. And he's talking, I guess he's in some bar in France. And the French, I do not like the Americans. You're over here. We do not like your games and your sports. We wish you would leave. And Jonathan's like, I'll put it to you this way, Mac. In my country, this means touchdown. And it just floored. I mean, it's so damn good. It just floors me every time because you can just hear him and see him doing it. Nothing too mean, but just my country. This means touchdown. Love that.
Look, I read something in the news with it. I want to say around 2 weeks ago, where in France they're going to be issuing every household with a survival booklet. It's a 20-page booklet on how to survive. A survival guide, the go-to steps for a natural disaster, another pandemic, a terrorist attack. And I'm like, why do they need a 20-page book when you just need one page that says surrender? Or does it just have surrender written on all 20 pages?
First raise your right arm
in the audience.
Then raise your left arm, and that's hilarious.
That's it. Evander from Paris, he's going to leave my Patreon now. I'm sorry, bro. It's all in jest.
I mean, in fairness, like the Brits have shit on the French for this is an ongoing joke on top of everything else. Like this is a long time, haha, funny thing that we've always joked about, or the Brits have always joked about the French. I like that the British, they'll look down on the French so much that they'll intentionally mispronounce certain French words, like instead of saying fillet, they'll say fillet. Instead of saying valet, they'll say valet. Like certain things, but then other French words are fine, saying very, they'll say aubergine instead of eggplant. Certain words are, it's just funny how you guys pick and choose on what you will and will not shit on the French about. It's hilarious.
Look, growing up, I remember eating croissants when I was young, and we always called them croissants. And I was watching an American movie in the last couple of years. I don't remember what the movie was. And someone in the movie gave a person a croissant or offered them a croissant and went, "Hey, would you like a French donut?" And I was like, "What? Is that a real thing in America? A French donut?"
No. Well, maybe
this wasn't a comedy movie.
No, I understand. No, that I've never heard that before. I mean, I'm not saying that it isn't said, but yeah, I mean, I usually hear it butchered and said a crescent roll, and instead of croissant. And if anything is a French donut, it would be an eclair, pâte à choux filled, chocolate dip filled with pastry cream. But yeah, no, I mean, I've never heard a croissant called a French donut. That hurts my feelings.
Jason,
but I'm sure of America. I mean, the shit Americans say, Can we get
Jason? We call them freedom folds.
Freedom fold, yes. That's good stuff.
Well, look, we have been through every single wave of the retro collection. We've given our thoughts. So you said you have pre-ordered this latest 6-pack?
I did because it was easy to do online. I wasn't like sitting there at the first second or anything. It wasn't hard. They limited it to 2 per purchase, and I was fine with that because I wanted to get some loose, and again because I do the carded thing just for the look.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I was going to look up the price I paid because I have the confirmation email. I was just shocked that it was less than all the other waves. It just didn't make sense to me compared to, yeah, let's see.
Take a win whenever you can get it in today's economy.
Well, right. I mean, that's what I mean compared to, oh, duh. Not divided by 6. $59.99 for the 6-pack. So that's, under.
Okay.
Yeah, that's under.
That's $10 a figure.
Right. Yeah. And most of the time the figures were like $12.99 or $11.99 a figure. So yeah, I mean, based on previous waves and previous prices, I was shocked at that for being a 6-pack with 5 figures.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I did that. Somebody, Wesley Hendricks, did say I did see that they were sold out because the next day I went back in just to check if they were sold out, and they did say pre-orders sold out.
Yeah.
But these are shipping in either late April, early May. I was shocked at how soon from pre-order to ship date or expected ship date it was. It wasn't like it's this big, long pre-order.
Okay.
So free shipping. Again, this is Target. I'm lucky that where I am and that I can get them, everybody all over the rest of the world probably won't be able to get them easily, which sucks.
Yeah. We'll catch up on the chat here. So
sure.
My mouse is playing up now. Impossible Pie says we need a Rogue One retro line.
Okay.
That would make more sense than an Acolyte wave and a Phantom Menace wave, Yeah.
I could see it. I wouldn't be for me, and I like Rogue One, but it made, like you said, compared to all of the other not original trilogy waves, that would make more sense to me than any of the others.
Yeah. Master Sun 42 has been a member for 17 months. Thank you very much, Clemens. You might be seeing me and Clemens and Michael back together again later in the year. There's no deadline on this, but Retro Blasting is in the middle of a very, very intense video production, something that I'm very eagerly anticipating. But
War Stories, looking forward to that if that's what it is. Jason Anderson, War Stories. he's being Jason.
Drew G, he's been a member for 15 months. Drew, I didn't star your comment, but I did notice when you posted this that you followed it up saying that you couldn't do a members chat. I have no idea what happened there, mate. I will try and look into it after the stream and try and understand if there's something I've got wrong in the settings. But yes, YouTube channel members should get a free highlighted members chat every month. So I don't know what happened there. So
it is strange.
And Philip Story, thank you very much for the kind super chat, sir. He says, greetings, Desert Rat. Sorry I can't hang tonight, especially as I've been wanting a live stream for so long, but it's the wife's birthday and we're out tonight. Well, I hope your wife has a wonderful birthday. Have a great show and I'll catch the replay. You might want to skip over the first 5 minutes when I was having some technical issues, but no, Michael, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is a really a good discussion, and it was good for me to get back in the saddle. It's been, in fact, I had a look the other day. I haven't done a live stream in like close to 2 months.
Holy crap! It's been that long. Wow.
Yeah. The last one I did was about the Action Force prototypes that Bob was putting up for sale.
Yes.
They went up for auction on the 16th of January, so I did that the first week of January. Mm-hmm. So it's 2.5 months since I've done a live stream. Apologies, audience. I'm not going to go back to doing regular live streaming. I do much prefer the pre-produced content, but it's not something that's going to go away from the channel. I will do live streams when the right topic comes up, and this was a topic I was going to do a video about the 6 figures that were announced at Toy Fair 2025. Mm-hmm. but I'm so busy working on some other projects. I thought this would be an easier thing to have as a live stream discussion with someone else who I know, collects some of, if not all of the retro collection stuff. So, yeah, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. I had a blast. Always like talking toys with you. Listen, reading the chat, but this is shocking. Just too little, too late for me.
Yeah,
I mean, saying that, yes, I did order them, but I think the whole line could have been much more successful had they done more of this right from the get-go.
Yeah, I agree. Jason, thank you. He's been a member for 18 months. And GeForce Racing 20 says, yeah, my options are super sticker, super chat, or gift membership. No member legacy option. That is...
And he's showing up. I have the chat feed of YouTube here, and he's showing up green. He has his rank and everything.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
I think I don't want to do the cop out thing of blaming YouTube, but it's probably. Right. But guys, I will try and get to the bottom of it and fix it for next time. And if I can figure out what's gone wrong, I'll certainly let you all know. I'll make a social media post. But yeah, Michael, please stay on so we can have a chat afterwards. To everyone in the audience, thank you for joining me. It's been too long, and you will see me again soonish in my collector's guide to Kenner's superpowers, if I can ever get that damn script finished. So, no, always a pleasure, sir. It's been a blast. And one more thing before we sign off. In the video description below, I have posted a link to Michael Schaefer's collection tour video because it's a fantastic tour, and I couldn't believe when I went to look up the link the other day. I was like, dude, that video did really well.
I wanted to point that out only because I am nobody. I have no presence on social media. I don't make videos, and this is proof that YouTube and the algorithm make no sense. How can me, that's nobody, how can I have a video that got that many views? I mean, for me, it's a lot. It's not a lot for your channel or anything like that, but it just proves that the algorithm's driving shit that makes no sense. Why would 17,500 people watch me? And some guy, this was great. My favorite part was some guy really took umbrage that I, in great detail, described how I would murder Scott Tracker, a fictional cartoon character from 1985, was very upset that I had detailed out the murdering strategy to kill Scott in a shallow pool of water as I looked into his eyes and saw the life draw out of his body. It's fake. Scott's not real, folks. Anyway, thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, I have no idea why anybody would watch the video at all.
Hey, look, it's a great video, and people enjoy collection tours. So, but it's one of those. The first time I ever did a collection tour in the old house, the video did really, really well. And then I moved into this house, and people were like, doing new collection tours. Like, it's in a different room, but it's a lot of the same stuff. The video didn't do well. It's not like you can, unless you're buying a shitload of stuff and really rearranging your display every year. It's not like an ongoing series that you can do. But no, I wanted people to have the.
Nice.
If they haven't already checked it out, the link's down there. I definitely recommend it. If you're into Centurion, Star Wars, Mask, you were a Kenner kid, obviously. So
truly, thank you very much for that, though. That's kind of you.
Yeah. No, thank you all to the audience for being here tonight, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, folks.
Take care.
The year is 1978, and Palatoy bring you Star Wars. Here on Death Star, Ben Kenobi combats the awesome power of Darth Vader, while Han and Leia battle for their lives in the trash compactor. Luke evades the stormtroopers with R2, D2, and C-3PO. But can he escape in the X-Wing fighter? Only you will know. Only you can create your own Star Wars. Death Star, vehicles, figures, all sold separately. May the Force be with you.